Welcome into the Fantasy Football Diagnostics Podcast, where we provide you with your weekly diagnosis of everything fantasy football. Whether it's season-long leagues, dynasty, DFS, or sometimes even IDP, we got you covered all year long. Let's do it. Let's get to it. Welcome into the Fantasy Football Diagnostics Podcast. It is Wednesday, December 13th, and I'm your host, John June. Of course, without a doubt, got to have my guy, Greg Penniman, here with me. Greg, how you doing today, man?
Doing well. Getting ready for playoff round one for a lot of leagues, majority of leagues, all the leagues out there playing, the customary week 17 final. So it's definitely a very exciting time. Gotta lock in, gotta get these. Hopefully you guys got the people you wanted for waivers, but if not, we gotta move forward and think of our contingency plans. Mute.
Look at that, man. Got to make some moves. Got to think about those contingency plans. Got to, basically get at it, man. I mean, like you said, if we didn't get the waivers that we wanted, we really got nothing else to do but, just adjust, right? So, we obviously got Thursday Night Football to break down. We obviously have some, the remainder of the week one games that we have to break, or the week one games that we have to break down. We got 3 Saturday games this weekend, too. So, just be mindful of how you set those lineups, right? Those Thursday guys or Saturday guys, make sure they're in actual spots, not in the flex. So we say this every week, or whenever it's applicable, of course, but specifically times like this when we got these Thursday and these Saturday games. So just be mindful of those there. But the waiver wires look a little dry right now, right? I mean, I think Greg, you could probably speak to it too when you were going through looking at possible streaming candidates. It was dry, especially at the quarterback position. So waivers out there are looking pretty dry. Now, obviously, the averages that we have here, or the percentages that we have, may not be representative of your league, but they are, they're representative of the general population of leagues. So if a guy, be mindful that there's a guy that we might not name that might be that might be available in your league, right? So, and I'm sure we'll get into that a little bit as we jump into streams of the week. Now, if you're watching on YouTube or Twitch or X, we apologize. We could not get live today. We did push the show back to 4:00 for other reasons, but then we tried to get live and we had some technical difficulties. So we are doing a pre-recorded show. So unfortunately, no questions today, but we will, hopefully this issue gets resolved tomorrow, and hopefully this is the last time that we have to do this year, although no promises for sure. So there will not be, forgive me, we won't have, the graphics come across the screen, and we won't have, we won't be able to take questions on air. But if you are listening on Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google Play, then, not much really changes for you there. Without further ado, just going to jump into it now with Thursday Night Football, starting with the 5-8 Los Angeles Chargers traveling to Las Vegas to take on the 5-8 Las Vegas Raiders. This game has a 34-point total. The Las Vegas Raiders are 3-point favorites at home here. We obviously know Justin Herbert it's been since announced he's out for the remainder of the year with that broken finger on his throwing hand. So the Chargers will miss him this week. And so I'm going to take the under here. I don't know why I felt good about this, but I'm going to take the Chargers to cover 3. I'm going to take the Chargers to win the game.
Yeah, I'm going to take the under as well. I'm going to take the Raiders to win. Raiders to cover, Raiders to win.
Yeah, I mean, both these teams playing with subpar quarterbacks between Easton Stick and Aiden O'Connell, rather. So, we this is the prime, like, give me the pancakes, I don't, hold the syrup kind of deal here, where you want to play your Keenan Allens, you want to play your Austin Eckler. I mean, do you really want to play Austin Eckler? I mean, all right, Keenan Allen, how is he impacted by Justin Herbert, the loss of Justin Herbert? We talked about that a little bit on Monday, but, this matchup against the Raiders, how do you, I guess, foresee it going down for a player like Keenan Allen?
Yeah, again, you're kind of hoping for, hopefully he gets a high reception number. He gets targeted a lot, heavily, kind of like when, Aiden O'Connell kind of decided to take that starting job He targeted his number one guy early and often. So the goal is 10 plus targets, maybe like 7, 8 receptions, and that will lead you to a day you can live with for sure without Justin Herbert.
Yeah, I mean the matchup here is pretty good too. The Las Vegas Raiders, they allow the ninth most PPR points to the position over their last 3 games. So, definitely uh, a matchup that we would want to target. What are the quality of those targets that Keenan Allen's receiving? Not quite what it is with Justin Herbert, rather, but you just hope that you get there by way of volume. Now, Austin Eckler, we've talked about him basically, all year. How disappointing it's been. Last week we sucked it up, we played them, and we were rewarded with a 21 PPR point outing. Any reservations this week in what should be like a watered down version of the Chargers offense without Justin Herbert?
Yeah, I mean, you're kind of also. Oh, we got 5 receptions last week, 7 targets. 7 targets seems to be that's the high he's getting this year. So ideally, you're hoping that quarterback kind of checks down, maybe get some of those passes working in. And yeah, the yards per carry was actually the best he's had all season, 5.1, besides like the beginning of the year. So definitely a good sign there. So but I think you're banking more on the receptions, kind of just like Keenan Allen.
Yeah, that's the hope. And I mean, the question is Easton Stick, is he going to check it down to the running back? I mean, sometimes we see these young quarterbacks come in and not really check it down. So that's one of those things where I'll definitely be watching. But as far as a lineup perspective, he's going to be in my lineup for sure.
Yeah.
Now, on the Raiders side, Josh Jacobs, he has a knee injury or quad injury, I think they're calling it officially, that he's dealing with. The Chargers allow the 17th most PPR points to the running back over the last 3 games. They were much better matchup for that position at the start of the year, but they've since gotten a little bit better there. Uh, the Raiders have made it seem like as if Josh Jacobs is going to play. Um, do you have any reservations? And, if Josh Jacobs does not play, are you interested at all in Zamir White, who seems to be the next man up?
If Josh Jacobs does go, I think you got to put him in your lineup. Definitely a guy that can play through injury, and I think if he's on the field, he'll be used in a good way, as like a solid RB2. As far as if he doesn't go, Zamir White, I think that that definitely be an obvious downgrade. But you're kind of hoping, yeah, for like a RB3 PPR day. Zamir White, did have some talent coming into the year. I know he's a lot of stash options early in the season, so he's got some talent. So yeah, I would say rate him as an RB3.
Yeah, I would probably agree with that assessment there, Greg. I mean, Josh Jacobs, I think you got to play him as at least an RB2 if he goes. And then, like you said with Zamir White, probably closer to an RB3 if Josh Jacobs doesn't go. What are you doing with Devontae Adams this week? The Chargers were a team that we used to attack through the air, but they've been 27th, allowed the 27th most points over the last 3 games to the position. Devontae Adams also has not been overly productive during that time span. Are you playing him this week? Do you feel like he's somebody that has to be in lineups, or are you okay going another direction?
Yeah, I think he's still a top 30 play. I think he's still got wide receiver 2 upside, high end wide receiver 2 upside, just because of the targets he's getting. I mean, last 4 games he's gotten targeted over 10 plus times, 13 in 2 of those games. So he's still the volume is going to be there. I think more of a volume based kind of wide receiver 2.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna have him as I think top 30 is probably where about I will have him. I mean, if I look very quickly, I know I have him down as like a wide receiver 3. Yeah, wide receiver 32 to be exact. In the range of guys like a Calvin Ridley, like an Elijah Moore, like a Brandon Cooks, like a Jonathan Mingo. Um, you know, you just above him, guys like potentially, Jaden Reed or Curtis Samuel, Demario Douglas. So any of those names stick out to you as guys that you would want in your lineup ahead of a Devontae Adams?
Definitely Jaden Reed. I was, definitely a fan of his. Even think last couple weeks, Jaden Reed, I would put ahead of him. Think Demario Douglas and him are kind of in that same area. They're gonna get about the same amount of receptions. So yeah, I think that's pretty much where I would see him. Honestly, Jaden Reed for sure though. I think is a very hot play, especially even if Christian Watson's back. I think he's got some high and wide receiver 2 upside.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we'll talk about the Packers game, but Jaden Reed also has the rushing element in his game as well. So, um, anything else from this game, Greg, that you have any interest in, or?
No, no.
Okay, let's get to the fun part of it, Greg. What do you got for a bold prediction for us?
The under. Yeah, definitely. I think playing that under last Thursday night game was crazy. I mean, it came out of nowhere with the scoring in that game. So, I mean, 2 in a row will be shocking for sure. I think locking in that under, and I think Eckler, whatever his reception line is, I'll probably take that.
So right now, Eckler's total reception line is sitting at 3.5 plus over 3.5 is minus 148.
Yeah, I think I'll take that.
Um, yeah, I last week was rough, man. I mean, going unders and it just none of the unders hit last week.
Yeah,
In a week where
yeah.
you felt like those were what was gonna hit. Um, I'm gonna go here with a combination of a couple things. Um, Keenan Allen's not on the board right now because he was DMP with a heel today. So I do think he plays though. Um, man, all right. So I'm gonna go Hunter Renfro over 2.5 receptions, which is minus 130, and I'll also take. Oh man, is there a touchdown going to be scored in this game? I'll also take
So, yeah, just don't know who.
Austin Eckler anytime touchdown. That's plus 160. So those two together is plus 309.
Like that. Definitely like the
Yeah.
Eckler touchdown.
Yeah, the Eckler touchdown. I mean, Hunter Renfro, the 2.5 receptions seems kind of like out of left field, but these last 3 weeks, I mean, 3 receptions, 4 receptions, 5 receptions. Um, since Josh McDaniels gave up that job or was fired from that job, he's been more involved in the offense as well. So I definitely think, over 2.5 receptions makes a ton of sense there um, for Hunter Renfro. Anything else you want to add on this game, Greg, before we move on?
No.
All right, moving on to streams of the week now, Greg. Why don't you talk about your quarterback stream of the week this week?
Yeah, man, gotta go with Joe Flacco. Yeah, going against yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, Joe Flacco's on the board for sure as a play. Uh he's got a matchup versus Minnesota. He's 19% rostered. Just the first 2 weeks he's been in, at least 250 yards, at least 2 touchdowns in both those games. He'll be back. The practice squad thing was, just logistics thing. He'll be ready to go against Minnesota. And yeah, another matchup where it should be solid. Think the pace or anything doesn't really affect him. Joe Flacco's slinging that thing right now.
Yeah, man. I mean, it like I said at the top, man, it is a rough week for streaming quarterbacks. You know what's a great week for? Blocking your opponent who needs a quarterback.
Yeah, we're talking to Justin Herbert managers right now. This is solely for you.
Seriously, man. I mean, it's a rough week right now. A rough week to need a quarterback.
And may possibly see this trial managers. We'll see.
Yeah, possibly CJ Stroud manager. So there are very few guys at this point in the season who are rostered below 50% because it's not even just like playoff teams, right? There are the teams in the dead zone, right? Teams that aren't playing for anything. They stopped making transactions. They stopped making moves. And so there's just players, defenses, you
Mhm.
know, quarterbacks, kickers that are just stuck on their team. And there's nothing you could do about it, right? So um I'm gonna start by saying that I would much rather have guys like Matthew Stafford, much rather have a guy like
Mhm.
Sam Howell, Geno Smith, Russell Wilson. Those would be my preferences. But my quarterback stream of the week is Gardner Minshew, 26% rostered, going up against Pittsburgh. Again, all those guys I mentioned before would be my preference, but Minshew was solid last week. Should be able to provide that again this week against a Pittsburgh defense that'll, while allowing the 20th most fantasy points to the position over the last 3 games, not very high number there. They did just allow 3 touchdown passes to Bailey Zappi in a half. So, Gardner Minshew, I think we like Michael Pittman Jr. this week because we like him every week. And so Minshew will have big role in delivering him the football this week. So yeah, Minshew's my guy this week. Rostered in 26% of Yahoo leagues.
Yeah, definitely love that pick. Also love the Matthew Stafford thing. He's a QB1. I think he's got to be the first quarterback people go for with this matchup too, and how he's playing.
Yeah, I mean, Geno Smith is scary because he plays on Monday night coming off the groin. So you got to play that literally up to the minute. Like, okay, would you be willing to roster both Geno Smith and Drew Lock to play one of them against Philadelphia?
Mm.
Last week against San Fran, Drew Lock, uh, 20, 22 completions, 269 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions.
Yeah. I think if I'm in need of a safe week, I don't think he's gonna lose you your week. So against Philly, I think that'd be a good strategy.
Yeah, I mean, Philly over their last 3 games allows the most
Yeah, all season
fan
really.
all season basically. But if I look at my little key here, they allow the most fantasy points to the quarterback position over the last 3 games. So I do want to find a way to target them. Geno Smith is a little scary because he plays on Monday night. So you really got to take it up to the wire. But
You
so
don't
you
want the
do
worst where he starts and re-injures himself and then
that
exits
is
the game
that
mid-game.
is the worst.
Yeah,
That is the worst that could
yeah.
happen. So um yeah, keep that in mind. But Russell Wilson also very highly on my list going up against Detroit. So, I think you can't go wrong with any of those guys. And if I know we said Sam Howell, you're like probably wondering, oh, Sam Howell's not available, but Sam Howell was dropped in some leagues last week because he was on bye. Some people who didn't want to roster 2 quarterbacks. So just take a look out there. Um, Moving on to tight end, Greg, what do you got this week?
Yeah, popular streamer of the week guy, Chigo's on Kwankwo versus Houston, 34% roster. The matchup's pretty good here. And over the last couple weeks, he's just had a steady floor. I think at least 9 points, PPR points in the last 2 weeks as well. So yeah, in a playoff week where you're, hopefully if you don't have one of those top guys, you need someone to put up at least a good floor, and Chigo's that guy.
Yeah, I mean, you went to Chico last week, and he came through with about 9 PPR points, which is really good for a streaming tight end. I also am going with Chico this week, 34% roster, going up against Houston, like you mentioned. Houston allows the 12th most PPR points to the position over their last 3 games. Widely available, coming off his best game of the season, has 2 straight 6 target games, is clearly the third option in this passing game behind DeAndre Hopkins and sometimes Tajay Spears. Not to mention, like I said, the plus matchup. Aquanquo is a strong bet to finish in the top 12 this week.
Yep, absolutely.
And your defensive stream of the week this week, Greg?
Yeah, Atlanta got Carolina this week. They're 49% rostered. That was the biggest jump. They had the biggest jump too, I think, of any team from Tuesday to now. Yeah, I was looking at them a couple weeks ago, seeing the playoff schedule there. Have Carolina. Indy's gonna be a little bit tough, and then they finish out with Chicago. But this week, to get you to that next round, go get Atlanta.
Yeah, definitely like that one. I'm going with a defense that I actually had to pick up in our League of Extraordinary People because there's only like 7 defenses available in a 14-team league and 8 playoff teams. So um, there's
Crazy.
only so many defenses available. So for my playoff matchup this week, I'm going with the Chicago Bears going up against Cleveland. They are 9% rostered in Yahoo leagues. Chicago has been much better defensively since trading for edge player Montez Sweat, and now get a plus matchup against the Cleveland Browns. Joe Flacco, while he is still ripping it, some might say even he's elite. He's still taking sacks and still is not immune to throwing an interception or two. So uh, definitely like the Cleveland or the Chicago Bears defense to get after him a little bit, while also having, not to mention, I like to give out multiple week streams with my defensive streams of the week. They get matchups next week in the next 2 weeks against Arizona and Atlanta. So to close out the year, so definitely a strong playoff schedule all around for the Bears defense and special teams.
Yeah, love it.
Um, moving on to the 1 p.m. game on Saturday, the 7-6 Minnesota Vikings travel to Cincinnati, take on a 7-6 Cincinnati Bengals. This game has a 39.5 point total, where the Cincinnati Bengals are 3.5 point favorites at home here. Greg, I kick it to you. Where are you going with this one?
Yeah, I'm gonna take the over. I'm gonna take Cincinnati cover and Cincinnati win.
I'm going to take the under here. I'm going to take Minnesota to cover 3.5, but I will take the Cincinnati Bengals to win this game here. Um, I mean, the Cincy offense, like, I don't know. Has there really been that much of a difference? I mean, week to week,
Yeah, no,
they've
no. They're the guys who they've been all season are gonna be there. Jake Brown has definitely kept this offense relevant, strong.
most definitely, man. So, um, Joe Mixon, I think you got to have him as an RB1, and what looks to be a plus matchup against the Minnesota Vikings. Well, actually not 24th over the last 3 games, but Joe Mixon seen enough volume, seen enough end zone work or red zone work that makes you think he's worth the play there as an RB1. Um, Jamar Chase, I think he's in that place where he's been these last few weeks with Jake Browning, where he's a high end wide receiver 2 with some strong wide receiver 1 upside because essentially a big play waiting to happen. The question then becomes like, what do you do with a guy like T. Higgins, who we're kind of waiting for this like thing to come to fruition with T. Higgins? Like, are you playing him this week in this matchup against the Minnesota Vikings, who they've been much better defensively over, you know, um, these last several weeks here?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, you gotta see him as a more of a wide receiver 3. Probably, yeah. With I think if you guys have some upside with some other guys, um, that might be have a safer floor. I think you got to start him over T Higgins right now. I would need to see it for it to happen. I mean, he did get some big plays last week, but yeah, I can't really trust it for playoff time right now.
Do you have any interest in playing Jake Browning this week? I mean, we talked about it being a rough week for streamers. He's been very solid these last few weeks. Do you have any thoughts there about playing him?
Yeah, I think he's definitely playable, especially in 2 quarterback leagues. And if you're out of options, kind of, I think he's definitely an option. He's one of those options where I wouldn't be sad if I was left with him.
Yeah, I agree with that, right? Like, I'm not going to be overly upset if I have to play Jake Browning, but I'm not
Yeah.
particularly excited to play Jake Browning, if that makes sense. So, um, on the Minnesota side, Josh Dobbs did effectively get benched. Nick Mullins has been inserted into the starting lineup. So, I think TJ Hawkinson going to be a tight end 1. Justin Jefferson has come out and said he will play. He told reporters he will play on Saturday against the Bengals. So, um, how do you rank Justin Jefferson this week going up against the Cincinnati Bengals, who are beatable against the wide receiver position? Over their last 3 games, 19th against the position, but they run a lot of man coverage, and I have a feeling Justin Jefferson doesn't struggle against man coverage.
Yeah, no, I think he's still the safest play. He's still a low end wide receiver one for me. I mean, he was eating in that early night game until he got rocked in the middle of the field. He's just really the only. If I mean Jefferson and Hawkinson taking all these targets, it definitely doesn't really leave any room for Addison. So I will leave him on my bench.
Yeah, and I'm probably going to be in the similar place where I had him last week, probably maybe a tick higher. I did have him as a mid-tier wide receiver too. Um, Obviously, I had no idea that he was going to leave that game with an injury.
Yeah,
But I will have him as a, with Nick Mullins in the lineup. Some of my concerns about the pass plays that become run plays because of Josh Dobbs and things of that nature. I feel like, those concerns are eased a little bit. So I'll have Justin Jefferson as a high end wide receiver two with some significant wide receiver one upside.
yeah.
Um, Now Alexander Madison looks like he may not play in this matchup, dealing with an ankle injury. Um, So Ty Chandler would then be in line for what looks like a full workload there. Do you have any thoughts, reservations there, potentially playing, or not? I guess not reservations really, but do you have, how would you rank Ty Chandler going into this matchup this week on Saturday against the Cincinnati Bengals?
Yeah, I would say RB3. I mean, I know it's a different quarterback, but this offense was pitiful last week. They're struggling without Kirk. So I don't see them in a lot of scoring opportunities. So yeah, I think it was RB3 is fair.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna have him as an RB3, maybe like a low end RB2. Um, he is the most explosive between the two backs, between him and Madison. So I would like to see him get these opportunities here, and I'm excited to see that. But ultimately, like you said, do you have a lot of faith in this offense as a whole? And I've yet to see that. So
Yeah.
Madison is going to be, I would play Madison or not Madison Chandler over like a Keaton Mitchell for sure this week, right? Like, um, but I think he okay because I know you've been on him lately. Chase Brown or Ty Chandler, same game.
I got to take Chase. I'm chasing the points here.
Chasing the dragon. Um, yeah,
Uh,
I will go Chandler in there because I feel like he'll get slightly more volume, but and he's explosive too, man. He just has not been getting consistently getting the touches there. Um, I
yeah,
guess you could
last
say,
week was probably his first week. He got no, well, yeah, he had 12 carries last week. Had
yep,
15 one game. Yeah, hopefully he gets at least 15 in this game.
yeah, most definitely. Anything else on this game, Greg? Before we move on.
No.
All right, moving on to Saturday, 4:30 p.m. We've got the 7-6 Pittsburgh Steelers traveling to Indianapolis to take on the 7-6 Indianapolis Colts. This game has a 42-point total, where the Colts are 2.5-point favorites. I'm going over here. I'm taking Pittsburgh to cover and Pittsburgh to win on the road.
Yeah, this is a tough game to call. Definitely, I'm gonna take the over though. I'm gonna take Indy to cover and Indy to win.
Yeah, man, it's crazy, right? It's like, does Mike Tomlin lose 3 in a row? Is it three? Would it be 3 in a row? Yeah, it'd be 3 in a row, and it'd be four of his last five. But this team is also very bad. Like
Yeah,
offensively, the Pittsburgh Steelers are very bad.
yeah, they are.
So it just really comes down to which one of those things is more true. On the Pittsburgh side, Mitch Trubisky gonna make his second straight start here. Najee Harris, Jalen Warren. Um, how do you see that backfield coming together this week?
Yeah, kind of the same as that has been. They're both kind of RB2s in my eyes. Mid tier to low in RB2. Hopefully they get some scoring opportunities this time a little bit more. they're probably the unit I'm looking at the most to play versus kind of like the wide receivers or the tight end. No.
Yeah, I'm gonna have Najee as like an RB2 and like a low end RB2. Jalen Warren as like a high end RB3. Um, Not really in love with the rest of this offense. Like Pat Fryermuth
Yeah.
is like a tight end one option by default. Deontay Johnson would be the wide receiver 3 for me, but he's actually showed up on the injury report with as a DNP with a knee injury, which is apparently a new injury. So makes you wonder what his status is. If he's unavailable, I definitely would think that um I definitely think that uh George Pickens would then step in as like a wide receiver 3, but again, not really
Yeah, not
not
excited
really
for that either.
excited.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else on the Pittsburgh side, Greg?
Oh no.
On the Indy side, Michael Pittman Jr., wide receiver 1.
Mm.
Um, Zach Moss, I think we got to continue to go there to that well,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah. Trust that volume.
Um,
Hopefully.
yeah, volume dependent RB2. Gardner Minshew, my stream of the week. You know, not a ton of upside there, but probably will finish somewhere within the top like 15 or 16 of quarterbacks. Josh Downs, I think, has an intriguing matchup with Pittsburgh being susceptible to slot wide receivers, but he's been a guy that's been hard to trust as of late. So it would be definitely tough to recommend him this week, but could definitely be a play that I could be talked into.
Yeah.
And anything else on this game, Greg?
No.
Moving on to the last Saturday game here, 8:15 p.m. The 7-6 Denver Broncos travel to Detroit, take on the 9-4 Detroit Lions. This game has a 47.5-point total. The Lions are 4.5-point favorites at home here. Greg, where are you going with this one?
Yeah, I'm gonna take the over. I'm gonna take Denver to cover and Detroit to win.
I'm taking the under with Denver to cover 4.5 in Detroit to win this game. Really love this spot here for Russell Wilson. I think he's a QB1 in this matchup. I mean, Detroit's been so bad through the air in these recent weeks here, allowing the third most fantasy points to the quarterback position. So I think Russell Wilson definitely in a great spot this week.
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, he's been money all season, still keeping his interceptions down. I think, yeah, he's definitely a QB1.
Now, Cortland Sutton, I think obviously he's been a strong wide receiver 2 all year. I think that trend continues as Detroit allows the 8th most PPR points to the position. So I think it's definitely a strong week for Sutton as well.
Absolutely.
And then Javonte Williams probably has the tougher matchup between the three. Detroit allows only the 26th most PPR points to the running back position, but I think he's probably going to be an RB2 still for me this week.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
Now, Sam Laporta is definitely not Gerald Everett. Um, Sam Laporta will take advantage of a good matchup
Mm.
and checks notes. Denver, thanks to Gerald Everett, now allow the 9th most PPR points to the tight end position because they were the first last week.
Right.
Right. But now they're 9th. And so Sam Laporta here in a great spot, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely in a bounce back for this offense. I mean, they were in a close one last week. They want to get right. Him starting with Laporta and Amara.
Yeah, speaking of Amon-Ra, had a tough go at it last week. Has a tough matchup this week. Denver allows the 24th most PPR points to the position. Um, how are you looking at Amon-Ra St. Brown this week?
They definitely do have a tough matchup. I think I would just slightly bump him down to maybe like a high end wide receiver 2, some borderline wide receiver 1 upside. But yeah, that's kind of where I have him at.
Yeah, I'm the same way with him. Then Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. How are you balancing these two guys this week?
Both starting them. I mean, they always both either have some RB1 upside. But yeah, I think Gibbs is kind of like I'll rate him a little higher, probably like Owen RB1, and then Dave Montgomery is strong RB2.
Yeah, I'm gonna have them. Yeah, probably similar. They'll both be in the RB2 range, but Gibbs will probably be a little bit higher for me than, uh, than David Montgomery would. Jared Goff, any interest? He's been,
Yeah.
essentially, yeah. All right. Well, moving on to the next matchup, the 6-7 Tampa Bay Buccaneers traveling to Green Bay to take on the 6-7 Green Bay Packers, where this game has a 41.5 point total, and the Green Bay Packers are 3.5 point favorites here at home. Greg, where are you going with this one?
Yeah, I'm also take the over in this one. I'm gonna take Tampa to cover and Green Bay to win.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the over as well. I will take Green Bay to cover. I will take Green Bay to win. Jordan Love, my start of the week last week, failed miserably in that spot. But I'm going back to the well with him as
Yeah,
a QB1 this week against Tampa Bay.
yeah, absolutely. Him and everyone should eat. This is a prime matchup right now.
Yeah, definitely a prime matchup. I love Jaden Reed this week as like a wide receiver too. I think Dobbs continues to be a wide receiver 3. If Watson does return, how does this impact the wide receiver pecking order this week?
I think Reed is still the safest guy with or without Watson. I think Dobbs takes a little back seat with if Watson comes back. He becomes like more of an RB4 kind of option. And Watson just will slide back into. He was putting up some big numbers, so I put him as a wide receiver too.
And then Tucker Craft, I mean, I don't know if it matters whether a team is good against a tight end or not. Tucker Craft seems to have a role in this offense.
Yeah,
So are you playing him as a tight end one?
yeah, kind of. He's in that what Chico's been doing, maybe a little more upside, but he's creating a safe floor for himself right now as a low and tight end one.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's definitely the guy, right? Like we talk about those Sunday morning ads. Well, yeah, this will be a Sunday morning ad. Guy, you just need a guy that's available. I think he will definitely be there and be that guy for you for sure.
Yep.
On the Tampa Bay side, or sorry, back to staying with the running backs, going back to the running backs on Green Bay. AJ Dillon, probably an RB3 if Aaron Jones doesn't go.
Yeah, pretty underwhelming. Even if Aaron Jones does go, like you're not really trusting this run game right now. All year has been a big disappointment.
So if Aaron Jones goes, you're not playing him.
I don't think so. I can't trust it right now. Tampa Bay, they don't got no passing defense, but they always Todd Bowles got that rush defense on lock.
He does. Bijan Robinson got it done via the pass game last week. So, um, I don't know, man. It's tough because Aaron Jones is like,
First game off, he's been injured all season too. Like, be tough for me to just slide him back in there like that.
yeah. I mean, if you have better options, for sure, I think you do. But if you're sitting there with like AJ Dillon and I don't know,
Oh yeah,
you just picked up Zeke, and so now Zeke's your RB1. Maybe you lost Jonathan Taylor, or maybe you lost um who's the other guy I'm trying to think of right now. You just lost Alexander Madison, right? Like if it's dire for sure, like I would understand putting Aaron Jones in the lineup, but like I think if you have like an embarrassment of riches, like maybe it's not worth it, right? But I think on a case to case basis, you'd have to look at your situation and see, you know, uh, you'd have to see like what does that call for in in that instance.
yeah,
All right. On the Tampa Bay side, I think Rashad White, easy spot here to finish as an RB1.
yep.
Mike Evans, I think, wide receiver one is a fair assessment to make. Uh, are you playing Chris Godwin this week?
No, still can't trust that.
Yeah, me neither. Kate Otten, if you can't get Tucker Craft, go get you some Kate Otten.
Yep.
And then Baker Mayfield, I think, is slides in as a QB2 this week.
Yeah, I agree with all that.
All right, moving on to the next matchup here. The 5-8 New York Giants travel to New Orleans to take on the 6-7 New Orleans Saints. This game has a 37.5 point total, and the New Orleans Saints are 6 point favorites. Greg, where are you going with this one?
Yeah, I'm gonna take the over. I'm gonna stop picking against Tommy DeVito, and take the Giants to cover and Giants to win. Ruining our future, but it's okay. I know one person is the most happy to have Tommy DeVito, and that's Daniel Jones.
I just want you to remember that I warned you that this was going to happen when you were doing your whole, Caleb Williams, Drake May stuff at the beginning of the year. I said, Greg, I don't
Even
know why.
McCarthy came into play. Maybe Jaden McDaniels. Like they're all there now. We're just dropping down. We're
I
in
was like,
playoff
Greg,
contention.
I don't want you to get your hopes up because we know how this is going to go. And here we are. Anyway, I am also taking the over. I'm also taking Tommy DeVito, Tommy Chicken Cutlets to cover and win this game here. That being said, there's not much I want to play in this game, which is also makes kind of crazy that I took the over. Cause I don't know who do you want to play? I literally wrote 3 names down.
Oh, Alvin Kamara. That's tough to even get. Saquon Barkley, the running backs. I mean, if Darren Waller can go, Darren Waller, but that's it.
Chris Olave.
Chris Olave. Yeah. Chris Olave. Yeah.
But that's it. Who else do you play for in this game?
No one. You're not for playoff round 1. You're not doing that. Don't get cute. That's my number 1 rule for playoff time. There's no sneaky play, AT Perry, none of that. No. Just trust your guys. Darren Waller be the only one. I'm like, all right, tight end, you can slide him back in and it's worth a shot.
Taysom Hill, if he goes, because didn't go last week, I'd be okay playing him at tight end.
Yeah.
But that's it.
Yeah, that's it.
All right. Glad we all agree on that. On to the next one. The 6-7 Atlanta Falcons travel to Carolina to take on the 1-12 Carolina Panthers. This game has a 34.5 point total where the Atlanta Falcons are 3-point favorites. Now back to the agenda here where the Atlanta Falcons win the NFC South. I'm taking the under. I'm taking the Falcons to cover, taking the Falcons to win.
Yeah, I'm totally agree with you that in that aspect.
Another game where I look and I think I only see 3 players that I want to play.
Yeah,
maybe
Bijan. Well, the running backs, Bijan, Hubbard, Drake London for sure. Yeah, man, probably Kyle Pitts.
You said it, not me. And he wasn't even the 4th I was thinking of. I was thinking of Mingo.
Oh yeah, Don Domingo. He's been solid lately. Yeah.
Yeah, the matchup was tough last week, so it wasn't even a game where I really wanted to play him, but he had 9 targets even in that tough matchup. Atlanta rather allows the 29th most PPR points to the wide receiver position, so another not so great matchup there. But I think with the target volume, if you're desperate at the wide receiver position, you can get away with Jonathan Mingo.
Yeah, I agree.
And that is really it in this game. Moving on to the next one, the 7-6 Houston Texans traveling to Tennessee to take on the 5-8 Tennessee Titans. This game has a 37.5 point total. Greg, where are you going with this one?
This one I'm taking the under as well. I'll take the Texans to cover and the Texans to win.
I'm going to go over here, but I will take the Texans to cover, Texans to win. At this point, we have no idea if CJ Stroud and or Nico Collins are going to play. Nico Collins was on the side at practice today, was doing some work, which would imply that he's, has a good chance to play this week potentially. CJ Stroud, though, in concussion protocol, was not seen at practice.
They don't play that next week, man. They just haven't this year. They stopped.
Yeah, there's been 3 instances I could think of, which was Brock Purdy, where everyone was like, nope, he's not gonna play, and he played. Amari Cooper, and I feel like there might have been one more, but that's really it. Those guys have not played after a lot of guys have not played. I would much rather plan this whole week as if CJ Stroud is not going to play.
Yep.
And then pick someone up, or I'd much rather drop somebody once I find out CJ Stroud's going to play, as opposed to trying to pick somebody up last minute when you realize he's not going to play.
Yeah.
Now Any chance you'd any remote chance that you'd play Davis Mills?
Um, in two quarterback leagues, and I've literally no other option. But like, I think he's the last. I'll take all the quarterbacks we talked about today, streaming guys, all of that over Davis Mills. Like he's like 30 something area. Like we're talking Danny DeVito, Davis Mills type, area.
The thing is
Tommy DeVito.
if you told me I got Nico Collins in the lineup, I would think about it. I would strongly consider it. Now, don't even get me started if Tank Dell was in this equation. Like I would
Well, yeah,
definitely be playing Davis Mills. Like if he had Tank Dell and Nico Collins, like yeah, you know, like just give me a drizzle of syrup on my pancakes. I'm good. But this is really tough. I don't think I can do it this week. Um, but it was just something to consider. Like you said, two quarterback leagues. I think you probably will have to do that. Devin Singletary, uh, how are you handling him this week? Did seem to take the role back from Damian Pierce last week. This whole situation is a mess. But
yeah.
do you have any interest in playing either of these running backs for Houston?
Yeah, I'm still a fan of Devin Singletary. I think when he gets the majority of the carries, he's the better back. He did run well last week. 13 for 65. Yeah, I wish it was just simpler. They just give Devin Singletary the lead because he's really good with it. So I think that's ideally what will happen. But I still have him as an RB2.
What about Noah Brown? Obviously the passing games took a hit last week in a tough matchup against the Jets, but slightly better matchup this week as the Tennessee Titans allow the 14th most PPR points at position over their last three games. Um, are you interested in Noah Brown and or potentially a Robert Woods in a revenge game?
Yeah, I'd be definitely more excited if it was CJ Stroud, but definitely think Nico Collins if he's able to go low and wide receiver 2. Then Noah Brown after that, also wide receiver 3 with some wide receiver upside, and then Robert Woods wide receiver 3.
Yeah, I mean if Stroud goes, I think I have it the same way you have it. If Stroud doesn't go, then I think Nico Collins is like a wide receiver
Yeah, they just all
two.
kind of slide down a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Brown would be like a wide receiver 3, but like on the lower tier, and like I don't think I want to play Robert Woods. What about Dalton Schultz? What are you doing with him? Haven't seen him in a couple weeks now. Is he a tight end one even if Stroud doesn't play?
no, I think I need Stroud in that lineup because he was already kind of fading away with him. Yeah, it'd be he's a tough start for me this week actually.
Yeah, I agree with that too. Tennessee's not even a great matchup. 29th most points against the position over the last 3 weeks, so not a great matchup there. Um, Now we spent so much time talking about Houston, we haven't even spoken about Tennessee. What are you doing with those pieces on that side? I guess we'll start with Derrick Henry. Got in the end zone last week.
Yeah, I'm just
Uh,
trusting the run game here for sure. Derrick Henry, Tajay Spears. Um, yeah, Derrick Henry I think is a strong RB2. Tajay Spears I think is also a solid RB2 as well. For this, just because how he's been used and how well he's been running. And
no D
Diop,
Hop in it.
yeah, Diop's the good low end wide receiver too. Yeah,
You know what this is, right?
run game.
It is.
Oh, I mean he's getting the chemistry's getting better with Will Levis, so
It is.
it's looking up. That definitely is looking up.
Remember that game? I needed no more than like 38 points between Saquon
Yeah,
and D Hop.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Saquon almost got that himself. Yeah,
Which was my fear that Saquon would just get it by himself and then
yeah,
D Hop
yeah.
like basically was like, "Oh, I can match you." Anyway, anything else on this game, Greg?
No, no.
Moving on to the next one, the 5-8 New York Jets traveling to Miami to take on the 9-4 Miami Dolphins. This game has a 39-point total. The Miami Dolphins are 8.5-point favorites. I am going to follow you a little bit here, Greg. I'm going to stop betting against the Jets here, although you have a larger sample size. But I'm going to take the under here. I'm going to take the Jets to cover 8.5, but I will take the Dolphins to win this game.
Yeah, I'm with you with that as well. I think I take the over based off if Tyreek Hill's playing. Like he's really that. If he's not playing, I'm taking the under.
By the way, I think Tyreek Hill ended the argument that he
Yeah,
should be the MVP.
absolutely. He closed and shut that case. Like that entire team was different. Like they had no idea what they were doing. They forgot how to play football without him. It was like it started raining and people were driving in the rain. Like it was crazy. I've never seen a difference in the team and what they can do. Like it was wild. It was wild.
Wild.
Yeah.
Like
You thought
the
he was
whole
playing defense
offensive,
too?
it was broken. Like the
Yeah.
offense was broken.
Yeah. It was broke. It was broke.
That's crazy.
And they had time to do something. Like it's not like he got hurt late in the game. It was yeah, crazy.
Crazy stuff, man. I mean, it seemed like they were trying to put Achane in that role a little bit with some of the stuff they were doing, but I don't know, man. And you can't
Not like they
trust
don't have
Waddle.
talent around them. I mean, they have Waddle, they have H, they have
I
like
mean, we had the obligatory Waddle goes down in the first
yeah.
like
So the alert. I was like, oh, here we go. But he's finished with a solid day.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so if Tyreek Hill goes, he's a wide receiver one, obviously dealing with a
Yep.
high ankle sprain. Never seen somebody like return mid game with a high ankle sprain.
Yeah, apparently his wife called him and was like, you need to get back in the game. So yeah, that's kind of the story about that.
Oh, she must have had him on on her fantasy team. Devon Achane, I think he's an RB2 if well not if, but he's gonna go. I think he's an RB2. We're with Raheem Mostert as well. Jets are beatable on the ground. Jalen Waddle, probably have him as a wide receiver too if he can stay healthy and play in the game. And then Tua, I think probably have as a QB2 this week.
Yeah, and a QB3 if Tyreek Hill's not playing.
Tyreek Hill doesn't play. Now I'm curious how you feel about the Jets. I'm gonna ask you first, Greg. Like, where are you at with Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson this week after we saw what looked like a completely different Zach Wilson last week?
Yeah, I'm hoping that it won't be what that Black Friday game was. It'll be a little bit different. I think they kind of figured out getting Breece Hall the ball out in space should work. So I like Breece as a low end RB1, strong RB2 with some RB1 upside if he gets those receptions. And yeah, Garrett Wilson's solid wide receiver too, like he's been all year. He's going to get close to 15 targets. So
Yeah, I have Breece Hall as a low end RB1 as well. If those receptions come, if he gets in the end zone, I think RB1 day is pretty much
a lock, yeah.
locked and loaded.
Yeah.
Garrett Wilson, I mean, the fact that he's doing this all year and I think he has 3 touchdowns total on the season, absolutely crazy. We got robbed of
We
what
really did.
year, like what this year would have been, man.
Yeah, it was gonna be Diggs like year with Allen, honestly, like one of those leading league in receptions.
I don't know why you didn't go straight to like Devontae Adams.
Yeah, well, because it was like kind of like Diggs was leading the league in reception for like the last couple of years, so I thought getting those receptions, yeah.
Yeah, I mean he's got 853 receiving yards right now. So he's on
1,000. I think
he's on pace for over 1,000, which he did also do last year. Had 1,100 last year, so he's on pace for more than that. So yeah, I mean, but we got robbed for sure.
Yeah.
Anything else from that game, Greg?
No.
Moving on to the 5-8 Chicago Bears traveling to Cleveland to take on the 8-5 Cleveland Browns. This game has a 3.5 point total this game has a 37.5 point total where the Cleveland Browns are 3.5 point favorites at home here. Greg, where are you going with this one?
Yeah, I'm gonna take the over. I'm gonna take Cleveland to cover and Cleveland to win.
I'm gonna take the over. I'll take the Bears to cover and the Bears to win.
Yeah, I did want to say that too. The Bears could definitely. They're playing much better right now.
They're playing much better. I think Fields is a QB1 in this matchup. bring DJ Moore along with him as a wide receiver 1. Think Cole Kmet's in a great spot here as a tight end 1. Anything I said you disagree with?
No.
Are you playing any running backs from the Cleveland side or from the Chicago side? I mean, by any
Yeah,
running backs, I mean, are you playing Deontay Foreman?
Yeah, Deontay Foreman, lock and loaded, 12 for 60 and a touchdown. Let's go. That's
12
hopefully
for
the
60 and a
formula.
touchdown. Yeah. On the Cleveland side, Jerome Ford looks like he's dealing with an injury there, but if he can go, would probably be an RB1 for me. Chicago, 8th most fantasy points, PPR points allowed to the running back position, so definitely a great matchup. David Njoku also in a oh, sorry, wrong team. David Njoku has a somewhat not plus matchup, but 19th most PPR points allowed to the position. Obviously had the big week last week. So I think he's definitely a tight end 1 option. And then Amari Cooper has been strong. Not, I mean, he's been solid, so I think he'll be like a wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 for me this week.
Yeah,
Anything you disagree with?
yeah, I agree with that. Hopefully in Njoku, we get some consistency there, especially for playoff time. You know, I don't want to sting. You don't want your last game for elimination to be sting the people.
No, definitely don't want that. And then obviously Joe Flacco, your quarterback stream of the week in a decent spot here, as you know, this game, could go over and shoot out a little bit. So,
Yeah, hope so.
Anything else on this game, Greg, before we move on to the last one?
No.
Last game we covered today, the 8-5 Kansas City Chiefs traveling to New England, take on the 3-10 New England Patriots. This game has a 37-point total, where the Kansas City Chiefs are 9.5-point favorites on the road here. I'm going to take the under. I'm going to take Kansas City to cover. I will take Kansas City to win. Greg, where are you going with this one?
Yeah, I'm with you on all 3.
Don't look now, but Rashee Rice has a higher target share than Travis Kelce the last 3 weeks. Are you interested now?
Yeah, like I'm trying to think who I would like start Rashee Rice over.
I could give you some names.
Yeah, I
What,
think he's wide receiver 3. I think he's that. I think he's yeah. Travis Kelce, you're starting, but
which Rashee Rice or Tyler Lockett?
Tyler Lockett.
Yeah, Tyler Lockett's got a really good matchup. Rashee Rice or Jalen Waddle?
Jalen Waddle. Healthy Jalen Waddle.
I don't know. I
Oh
like
yeah,
Rashee Rice going up against the Jets.
yeah. They might not even need him. They might not even need him in this game.
Who, Rashee Rice?
Yeah.
I mean, where is it? Over their last 3 games, he's got a 29% target share to Travis Kelce's 21%.
Yeah, he definitely has. I mean, at least 7 receptions in the last 3 games too. So that's good. Yeah, I'll take. Yeah, you can pay me. I'll take Rashee Rice over Jalen Waddle.
All right, Travis Kelce, a tight end 1. Patrick Mahomes, though, that's an interesting conversation to have. It's been bad. Last week was bad. This is a game, like you said. Well, you said in regards to Rashee Rice, they might not even need him. Like, do they even need Patrick Mahomes in this game? 9.5-point favorites on the road in New England with Belichick's weather machine. How confident are you on a scale of 1 to 10 playing Patrick Mahomes this week as a QB1?
Yeah, just given the game script and everything, I think he's high in QB2 for this one. Yeah, just because how it's gonna go. This offense obviously is not the offense it's been, especially with these receivers, dropping all these passes. They can't seem to find that big play right now. So yeah, I think you gotta, if you have a Matthew Stafford, I would start him over Pat Mahomes, or maybe other really good matchups out there.
Would you start Sam Howell or Patrick Mahomes?
I still go Mahomes.
Brock Purdy or Patrick Mahomes?
Brock Purdy.
I think that's really as far as I can go. Like Russell Wilson or Patrick Mahomes?
Yeah, I think I'll go Russ.
Yeah, man, it's really tough to trust Patrick Mahomes this week. And then the running back situation is even tougher, right? Like if Pacheco can't go, which we're kind of assuming at this point that he doesn't go. CH we saw get the volume last week in the ground game. However, McKinnon outsnapped CH in the red zone, which led to him scoring a red zone touchdown. So this backfield kind of becomes a mess.
It's a meh. Yeah, I don't really want to touch it. You're hoping if you're starting McKinnon, you're hoping he's same script kind of last week, gets a touchdown, but he's not going to get a lot of targets or a lot of work. Like
That's why it's like it almost makes me lean towards CEH in this game script. If they're 9.5-point favorites, they're going to be up, winning. It just almost feels like they're just going to turn around and hand it to CEH like 15, 18, 20 times.
Yeah, but yeah. What is he gonna? I don't know what he's gonna do with it though. I feel like they're
He
getting
had 11 for 39 last week, which wasn't it wasn't bad.
Yeah, it's not bad. Yeah,
He had 15 opportunities. Like not bad. I mean, he had like 40 something total yards with them, but I mean, it's not great. It's not a great situation. It's very meh.
very meh.
Yeah. So you're leaning McKinnon. I'm leaning CH there.
I'm leaning hopefully somewhere else on another team. That's what I'm leaning to.
Well, hopefully you can start Zeke, who should be a volume dependent RB1 in this matchup here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Demario Douglas, if he can go, which we've literally been saying that for 3 weeks now. But if he can go, it's probably a wide receiver too.
Yep.
Any chance you go to Juju for his second revenge game in a row?
Now I think the formula is nice for the Patriots. If it's Demario Douglas, like the one receiver dogs, Demario Douglas. If not, then Devontae Parker. Then if they're both out, Juju comes back into play. I'll play Hunter Henry though.
Yeah, I think he's intriguing if Douglas can't go for sure. It almost feels like chasing the dragon again because he scored 2 touchdowns on 3 catches last week. So it's like feast or famine, it feels like from that perspective. But I think he'll see enough targets in this game where they're 9.5-point dogs.
Yeah.
Anything else in this game, Greg?
No.
All right. Well, that being said, we are out of here, and hopefully we resolve our technical difficulties tomorrow. But we will see y'all hopefully 3 p.m. live Eastern time tomorrow. Until then, have a good one, everybody, and we are out of here. Peace.
Yeah.